Welcome to our role models talk for the day. Yes. So these role model talks are to kind of show the different paths that people take in their uncommon journeys. To kind of like learn to work with their brain. Sometimes we may cover like friendships, sometimes we may cover work, growing up, pretty much everything, just to kind of see how yeah, people's journeys through growing up have like led them to where they are now. Reflecting on bits about that and also kind of hoping to learn from each other, because I think that's always so useful. Because sometimes you may yeah, I feel like I learn from people all the time, from like not only tips but like sharing stories, which is we're very good at here. Yes, I am Mivy, just in case people haven't seen me before. I am one of the facilitators here. I do some of the Roblox clubs, the Minecraft clubs, and basically any fun stuff. I'm hopefully there. Yeah, so that's a bit about me. Hi, Rebecca. And yeah, so our speaker today is Mary, who is above me, but maybe below me. Um, Mary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm Mary. I am neurodiverse, so I am autistic and dyspraxic. But more kind of close to my heart is I'm a lifelong nerd with a passion for all things digital art, poetry, Dungeons and Dragons, video games. I am just all in all a nerd through and through. I love kind of traveling, and I'd say my love of books fall into that, going to different places. Um, I probably devour about 24 fantasy books a year. I love exploring new ideas and different perspectives. Probably falls into my psychology degree, which I'll circle back to.
Mm-hmm.
But really into seeing the world, whether it's fictional or real. I'm an amateur traveler trying to get out there a bit more. I just come back from Vietnam, actually, which was a really interesting adventure. Um, Professionally, though, I used to work at Uncommon. I helped them in the early days, although some would say we're still in the early days, but back in the earlier days, in a different life. And I ran some workshops as well. Actually, did some of Mivy's role, I guess, prior to Mivy's engagement. But I also completed a degree in psychology with innovation and entrepreneurship, which in really simple terms is just the human brain and behavior. And in addition to businesses and starting businesses and looking to do new things in the world. So I spent 4 years studying that. And now in my current job, I help other people achieve their dreams and businesses in fun technology. So everything from AI to making sure you're safe online.
Those are so important, and I feel like they're
Mm,
only growing even more in importance. It's something that we've been thinking about a lot with, like all the sessions that we run, because all of them are online. Um,
totally.
Here we are. Yeah, me and Mary just found out that we were at university at the same time in the same place, which is very
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, so we have so much to kind of talk about. We spoke a little bit yesterday.
Mm.
Um, and so we will try and stay on path, but we might take an off-roading journey with you guys. But I'm so happy to just, yeah, everybody can hang out. Oh, just in case, I forgot to do a little bit of housekeeping, but for those who are watching in the present, we cannot see or hear you, and so you are so free to, I don't know, chill out, have a snack, make silly faces. We won't be able to tell, but you can interact with us in Zoom chat. I think you might be able to do emoji reacts as well. And then if you'd like to ask any questions, you can do so in the chat. And there's also a Q&A feature as well. And we will come to those mostly at the end of the talk, but if anything comes up that like makes sense for us to bring up, then we'll do so as well. But yeah, this is basically a nice little hangout and we'll get to learn a lot about Mary. So starting with the question that I've been asking a lot of people, what was it like for you to grow up with a neurodivergence?
Sure. So, I didn't really know I was growing up neurodivergent. I unfortunately didn't have something like Uncommon growing up to kind of educate me on that. It was all a little bit of a surprise. But looking back now, I it's very easy to say I grew up neurodivergent, and I think a lot of my reflections on my youth, I can speak from the perspective of being a young person and neurodiverse now that I have all the right words to
Mm,
kind of tell me what they were. I didn't really realize I was neurodivergent until my second year of university. Um, as it turned out, my parents had heard the word dyspraxic when I was a kid, actually, and we just never followed up. So,
no.
so close to knowing, but luckily it came up again, and so did autism, and I spent a lot of time researching and figuring it out. But on reflection of what was it like growing up neurodivergent, I was really quite lonely. I had a few close friends, um, but all in all, I was really lonely. I didn't really fit in. Um, I spent a lot of my time kind of being quite daydreamy and focused on probably outside of school efforts. So um, I did a lot of creating and creativity. I was, as I was touching on my earlier loves, drawing or
Hmm.
playing video games, Roblox specifically, but we can touch on that in a bit. Um, but I worked really, really hard, as a neurodiverse individual uh, who is dyspraxic, autistic, is dyslexic, has slow visual processing.
Mm,
The list goes on and on. Um, it meant that I really had to work hard in a school, and I don't think schools are an easy time for a lot of people. And I definitely fit into that group of people who struggled with how things are taught and tested in the school. So
mm,
I worked really, really hard. I definitely worked overtime. Um, but despite the fact of all of that, because I know that all sounds quite difficult and tough, I did flourish later on at university where I had loads of friends. I had loads of people who shared my interests. I was always really open and talked about my neurodiversity and all the things that kind of come together to make me me.
mhm,
Um, so despite the fact that that was a period of time for me and that was really difficult, growing up and then realizing and learning about it really helped. And, as I got older, I realized that a lot of my family was neurodiverse too. So everything kind of comes full circle. And as you get older, you realize how things were when you were younger too. Not that you aren't fully aware now, just that it's a different perspective, especially when I didn't, as I say, I didn't have the knowledge of being neurodiverse in the same way that you really excellently get being around uncommon.
yeah, I find so much of like your journey so relatable because I was the same. I was like devouring books. Like I think I was probably the one that took out one of the highest quantities of books, like winning a library competition and stuff.
Mm.
Not to brag, but yeah, just so many little things like looking back where I'd have like meltdowns before having to get
Mm.
ready for something because I hated my clothes and just
Oh
many
my
things like that.
goodness.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
bad.
Oh,
I'm so sorry, Mum.
no, I was the exact same. My mum would change what we were having for dinner and I would flip out. When
Mm,
I was 16, I started making all my dinners on my own just so I could have the control of knowing what's
mm,
going to happen and having that organization and all of that. So, oh my goodness, from the big things, from kind of those to the small things of I was just really focused on creativity, really focused on my passions, really focused on my select free friends, things like that. Yeah, I realized I spoke quite high level, but at a lower level, those everyday things are definitely a big deal. Feeling
mm,
so overwhelmed in a warm classroom or Oh, I had I have contact lenses now, but I used to wear.
Oh,
Is that me or is that you I
that is
hear?
probably my puppy. Hold on.
Oh, I can't hear anything. That became
Oh,
a bit
thank
of
goodness.
ouch.
Oh no. I can't hear you now. Yes, I have a puppy. No, okay, you've muted yourself,
Okay, I
right?
can't hear anything. 2 seconds. Let me
Okay, cool, cool,
change
cool.
the.
No worries. Okay, I guess during this time I can use it as puppy time. Wait, where
Oh,
are
here we
we?
go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can.
That was
Okay.
very strange. It just became like a storm of haze. I couldn't hear anything you said, and it was so loud. Talk
Oh
about sensory
no.
difficulties. Um, Tell me if there's any echo or anything, but I've changed.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
We will continue for a second, then I'll bring up the puppy because right
Oh,
now
please bring out the puppy.
he's
I think
going
that's
off on one at the moment.
that's
I'll give
okay.
him some time to chill. Yeah, I completely, like I said, I feel like a lot of people relate to this, and in some of the other role model talks, a lot of the people that I spoke to were again very creative, very like daydreamy, very much like creating their own worlds that they feel safe in and
Yeah.
understood. Which kind of brings us into like what would you say you were like really good at growing up? And I feel like a lot of this feeds into some of your
Mm.
like neurodiversity and kind of like pattern recognition and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I really did, as we say, kind of gravitate towards those creative spaces. I spent a lot of time kind of creating stories and worlds, as you say. Um, and I found that I naturally learnt to and was quite good at that. So from a young age, I realized I could just go into my brain and imagine a whole different world and stay there. And that led me to be really creative with my writing, which led me to be really good at English and interpreting stories and things like that that you commonly have to do in English class,
Hmm.
because I was already doing 10 levels of that every night or every car journey. And I thought it was the most entertaining thing in the world. I would be so excited to go to bed so I could go into my head in these stories. And honestly,
No,
to
wait,
this
me
day,
too.
yeah, to this day, I still do it to fall asleep. I will still go into these stories. And I think it's a really important thing. But I did a lot of that. And, that led to me publishing a short story. Um, it was a little competition that came up to kind of
Hmm.
evidence this because I realized that oftentimes I don't know whether it's just me or a wider thing, but as a neurodiverse person with a passion, I think I really underestimate myself and what I'm capable of. And so I knew there was this UK-wide competition on short stories. I was putting it off because I didn't think I was good enough for it. And then my English teacher's going, come on, are you going to do it? And so I decided, okay, fine.
Hmm.
And so, which is very unlike me because I'm a big planner, but on a whim, I wrote this 100-word story, I brought it in, and now it's published in a short story anthology. Um, and I, ended up being some level of finalist in that competition. And so I think I was probably really good at writing and stories, and I think I completely underestimated that. I was
Hmm.
also great at any kind of like creative play. I was a proud aficionado of Roblox and a proud connoisseur back when it was not cool. From not that anything's ever not cool. Don't let anyone tell you that. But from the ages of like 7 to 17. So I played it for
Hmm.
10 years. I have some veteran level account and I loved it from the early versions of Dress to Impress. There were earlier, which is
That's
hilarious to me,
crazy.
to just like going in and playing like I'd play these like role playing games so that I could be a cool character that I designed in my head and speak to other people. And it was a great outlet for me. So a lot of creative play in that way.
Hmm.
Um, I did a digital art page, and the long and short of that is again probably another story of I really didn't value what I was able to do, but I'd always wanted to get into this digital art for this story app. So the first thing I did was enter a competition with absolutely no idea what I was doing. I had a drawing tablet and no clue.
And a dream.
A drawing tablet and a dream. I need that on a t-shirt. Um,
Hmm.
and I won that competition. And from there, I went on to do some art for a author before they'd gotten really popular. And then the author of the um, story app was got really popular. So now I have some art pieces out there that have 2 million plus views, which is really crazy to me.
Yeah.
Especially I was pretty young. I was 13, 14. I wasn't old and I was doing this stuff. So
Hmm.
I think it's really often, and I know when we talked about this yesterday that I was talking about this, I think humans like to put things in boxes. And I think it's really easy as individuals. I know I have really struggled with this, but I like to put labels on myself to go the things I'm good at and the things I'm not good at and who I want to be. So, I would label myself as a gamer and I would label myself as this, that, and the other. But I think at times it really does not help to label ourselves. The human brain does things called schemas. Just taking a bit from my psych degree, I'll break it down a
Mm.
bit. But essentially, in the world, we have a lot to process all at once. We have one brain, and if you think you're hearing, you're smelling, you're seeing, you're touching things where you're sitting, all at the same time. And your brain cannot compute all of this. So it shortens things down and it means that you don't always have to think about the laptop screen that's in the right side of your vision or the little items on your desk. It's a quick way for your brain to process things because there's a lot always happening. And I am trying to learn myself that it's okay for me to not have labels on things. So I love doing art, but I think the label calling myself an artist is really scary. And if it doesn't help me, I don't always have to live up to what someone else would expect. So I tell that story and people go, well, you must be good at art. And it's like, well, you must be an artist. I'm going, I'm not
Mm.
actually. I wouldn't say that. And I think it's a really hard time when people, because humans really just out of no bad intent will try and label you and put you into a certain box of you're good at this or you're bad at this. And I think either of those can be quite dangerous because when we start to put them on ourselves. So I really like to live in a place of I'm just me, you know. I wouldn't call myself an artist, but I do like to do art. I wouldn't I love to call myself a gamer, but I have a job and don't have as much time for it these days. So I think there's something there about you don't need to kind of live up to a label you've put on yourself or someone else has put on you. You're allowed to have passions and try things without it being a really big deal that, if I want to try ice skating and I don't feel I could be labeled something. It's don't underestimate yourself because you can't live up to your assumptions or other people's assumptions of you. It's really
Yeah.
hard and it's a journey I'm definitely working on. Does that make some
It makes
semblance?
perfect sense. Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's something that stops me doing quite a lot of things because like, oh, I can't try this or like I already might have failed once, so I think that I'm bad at it forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
entirely. Yeah, you can try things without being perfect. I saw that pop up in the chat. I
Hmm.
completely, and just don't let anyone else's, there are hundreds of versions of us that exist in the world. It's, your friend who might have seen that you're good at drawing once has the idea you're good at drawing, but has no idea that you also like painting or writing or acting. So that is a version of you that exists in their mind, but it's not you. So let
Yeah.
yourself be you, try things, be different versions of yourself because there is no version, it's just you being you. And don't let any kind of simplified version restrain you from being who you are.
And you might find stuff that you're actually good at and really enjoy, which you might not have tried before because of that. It's such
Yeah.
an interesting little thing that, yeah, I'm also trying to really hard to kind of work
Mm.
through. Um, and maybe one day I'll learn how to ride a bike.
Hey, I hear you. It's really funny when you really look at it because no one's ever really one thing, are they?
Mm.
and I look forward to hearing if you ever try riding that bike.
I'll let everybody know. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, kind of in the so like you said at the beginning, you're very arty, but you're also very sciencey, and I'm very
Yeah.
much simplifying these things. But I feel like those are two very like opposing things, in the way where they use different parts of your brain. Like there's a lot of creativity, and it's very kind of black and white, I feel like, when people are thinking about that. So I'd really love to know how did you like get into science, and how you then, you know, staying true to your passions, while also kind of like figuring out, I'm gonna say sciencey stuff. That's not
Yeah,
the
go on. No,
right
no.
term, but yeah.
It covers a range of topics and all the ones we could do with covering.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think those parts of me have they've always existed, but you're right, they're always at seem like they're at odds.
Mm.
Like they don't quite mix together. It's kind of like what we just said. If you see science me and you see creative me, they don't necessarily go together. I spent the last few hours looking at data and looking at, you know, how businesses succeed and things like that, and planning for really complex kind of sessions. I did a degree in psychology and I did triple science at school, but also I'll come home and be a cleric in Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm known for being the humorous one.
Kind of
And
sciencey still
um,
as a cleric.
uh, okay, I just wanted access to all the spells. I'd love to say it was for any other reason than that. Um, but it wasn't. So growing up, my brother was really interested in science. So my older brother, he's ADHD, and he was always so naturally acclimated to science. And in all honesty, I just wanted to be like him. I think I really wanted. He was kind of a more popular kid than I was. School academics came more naturally to him, and I just really admired him. I was the little sister. So I think I kind of naturally leant towards it because that's what my brother was doing at the time. It's what my kind of I think people tended to positively respond to me about. So going, I do this science, would go, oh, that's really cool. And I really enjoyed validation. I wanted people to like me and be nice to me, and I thought science was the way. Not what the high school movies will tell you, but that's what I thought would do it.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say I wasn't actually very interested in physics or chemistry or really biology, but I always really liked human behavior and patterns. So I'm quite glad I did all those things because it let me do the degree that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
So getting into science for me was a lot of, I was always a pattern recognition person. So the behaviors in the people around me and what I'm seeing, I would equate to what they were thinking about and things like that. I was just always someone who was thinking about those human behaviors and patterns. And I think a lot of science is looking for patterns, identifying patterns in data and things like that.
Mm.
Um, so I think that's probably how I really got in science was initial, oh, my brother's doing it. And then I thought, oh, people will say I'm doing a good job. And then I went, oh, thank goodness, I like my degree. So I'm glad I did that in the end.
I'm so
But I would
glad.
say it's definitely wasn't some like, oh, I ever since I was young, I was pulling apart the model of a brain. And so no, I was doing what I felt right in the moment, and it
Mm.
didn't always make sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, that somehow does make sense. And like I said yesterday, I was also interested in psychology because it was like, okay, so I get to learn about myself, and like I'm also very nosy, so I liked learning
Yeah.
about other people. It's why I really liked
Yeah, yeah,
history,
yeah.
because it was learning about other people's stories. So yeah, it makes so much sense, and I feel like it's nice to then have some separation between like your kind of more personal artsy pursuits, and then also like feel like you said, like you're helping people achieve their dreams with your science
Yeah.
skills. Yeah. How do your passions kind of interact with each other?
Um, I would say. I mean, there's a lot of crossover. If anyone's
Mm,
ever played Dungeons and Dragons, they'll tell you that looking at data and complex rules, which is all science is a set of complex rules for how the world works, would say those intersect quite heavily. I also think that kind of like behavior spotting that helped me so much within psychology, helped me so much within physics and chemistry and biology. I really helped with do things like drama. Like I have being able to pattern recognize how people are responding in certain situations allowed me, for someone who doesn't find facial expressions really natural. You know, you might look at me right now and I'm very animated and I've got, but it's all I'm thinking, raise my eyebrows, eyes open wider, mouth open wider, my eyes, my
hmm
mouth both like smiling. Is it just done behind the eye? It's all that kind of stuff. And I think doing that, having that pattern recognition and that just innate capability that I get from my neurodiversity really, really helped me for that element of my life. It also helps me with stories. If I have an idea of how the world works, it makes any story I make more realistic, which isn't always necessary. But when I like the fantasy, the kind of fantasy books I like, it has a level and aspect of reality.
In the chat, someone's saying nothing but facts at the
Ah,
D&D bit.
I'm really, really honored by that, actually.
Mm.
Thank you.
One thing that I think is definitely like a bit more like we haven't covered yet,
Yeah,
kind of, is kind of energy management. And you've
yeah,
mentioned that you have a chronic illness, so kind of I think it's even more important. But with like neurodiversity as well, I feel like masking such an energy drainer. I feel like especially on heavier days, I'm exhausted. So I'd love to yeah, no, how do you navigate that personally, professionally? What kind of yeah, what have you noticed? Been your experience?
yeah. So I have, for anyone in the audience, I have a chronic health condition called CFS-ME, which is called chronic fatigue syndrome, which in even a simpler term means I'm very tired. There's a couple of other bits like feeling like I've been running, so that kind of muscle pain and stuff that really gets into it. But I just don't feel like I've slept in 4 years. I got this when I was 19, and no one ever assumes this about me on first glance. I'm a very energetic person, I'm very bubbly, but this is a huge part of my life that I engage with every day. So I'd love to say you know, with energy management, that I immediately figured out exactly what suited me, and I was right there, and it was all great. Um,
Hmm
realistically, I was trialing and erroring for years. So, first thing I say is give yourself credit and space. Like, you're not gonna get it right all the time, and that's okay because every time you don't get it right, you've learned something, and so you'll be able to manage it better the next time. Um, but I know this overlaps for me with my CFS and masking, as you say. It masking and suddenly all that thoughts I had about coordinating my face, things like that, suddenly was an actual intensive drain I had to think about. Um, so I do know this is quite an important topic for a lot of people in the neurodiverse community, which is great because that's exactly where I happen to be aligning. Um, I would say kind of tips for energy management. Biggest thing that kind of has affected my mental well-being rather than physical energy is learning to separate my emotions and my physical well-being.
hmm
So I quickly, really early on, learned that I could be tired and happy, and those could be two very different things. So being able to separate, I'm exhausted and I'm physically, this is really hard, which, it is. And I'm really enjoying the TV show I'm watching. Oh, I really love the company that I'm talking with. Oh, I just drew something I really liked. So, first thing I'd say is if you can, which is not always easy, if you can separate those two things and go, I really respect that I'm feeling a lot of difficult feelings right now. But I also know that focusing on that and only thinking about that is not going to help. And instead, I can think, well, what am I? what's my emotional well-being? Is there something I can do for that emotional well-being? When you decouple it, you can also feed into one or the other.
Mm,
What can I do for my physical well-being? Well, I can lay down, but what can I do for my emotional well-being? Well, I can watch the new episode of a cartoon that I really like, or a TV show, or I'd say that because I'm watching some at the moment. But separating those is great. I would say also lean into those strengths you already have. Like personally, as an autistic person, I am naturally organizational. And I kind of
mhm,
say that because I'd actually say my brain's quite disorganized, which just forced me to be organizational, even if it can feel chaotic at times. But
mhm,
I find planning in flexibility is super, super helpful. So I know myself and in my brain, if I'm doing XYZ tomorrow. If let's say I'm going to go see my friend for coffee tomorrow, and I've been so excited to see them. Um, Planning in my brain, I'd be so excited to see them, but there's a chance that I won't be able to make it. And setting that expectation for myself so that when plans change, I've already planned a bit of flexibility because I'm not naturally flexible. If I've got a plan, I would either then push myself through it
mm,
or I'd be really distraught when it wouldn't happen. But instead, planning that kind of flexibility in and baking that into your life is really good. And when you feel like you can't do something on a day, when you feel like you're really drained of energy, you're like, I would love to do that. Have a backup plan,
mm,
have a few things in your pocket that, I know I can't, that no matter what, if I'm energy drained, I can do this activity. So as I say, if it's watching a TV show, if it's drawing, if it's calling a friend, if you have someone that you can be in low masking situation with, you know, it's finding things so that if I'm not doing the thing that I really wanted to do, I have an alternative something that I'd really like to do and that I know that I'll like to do no matter what, and it won't affect my energy. You have to really be protective of your energy. I have not been at times, and oh my goodness, I wish I could have told an earlier version of myself that it's okay. You can't do everything, but it
mm.
doesn't mean that you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's definitely something that I'm still really fighting myself for at the
Yeah.
moment. Like, a being more flexible, because whenever like the smallest change in a plan happens, I
Yeah.
instantly like rebel against it, and I'm like, actually, I don't want to go anymore. I'm done. And
Yeah.
that's not good for me because I would have enjoyed seeing my friends that day. Or like we said
Yeah.
when we were speaking about this yesterday, like if a food that I wanted isn't there, then I'm like, absolutely not. I'm done.
Yeah.
I need to eat. So yeah, having easier things and advocating for
Yeah.
yourself is so important. And I think that those are very
Totally.
important things to
It's
mention for
it's
sure.
definitely not about it's not about saying that you can't do the things you want to do. It's not saying that you can't have that food another day. It's saying how can I still do things, or how can I do things that I'm prioritized, so I'm doing the things that are most important to me.
Mm,
Um, which a lot of people won't do who don't have energy level management. And the other side of the coin is they may not get around to things because they feel like they have endless energy and time. So there really are two sides of that coin. But yes,
yeah,
just wanted to
yeah.
throw that in last minute because I had it noted down from yesterday and I felt like it was important.
No, definitely. I think, yeah, just trying to make your life easier for you is the most important thing
Yeah.
that you can do, because yeah, energy is so tricky to manage in general, and then adding anything
Yeah,
else to it, the balance is gone.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So we mentioned masking, and I'm kind of pulling at this thread because I know that's something that like a lot of us have experienced. I again am also still learning how to unmask and learning like what things do I actually like, what do I actually agree with, find funny. So I'd love to talk more about that with you, and also kind of again professionally,
Yeah.
and then or like for those watching, school kind of masking versus like personal masking, because I find still I do mask with some friends as well.
Yeah.
um yeah, and it's tricky. It's so tricky.
Oh, goodness, it's so tricky. And I don't think ever expect yourself that it won't feel tricky. It'll get easier, but give yourself the credit and space that it's going to be tricky sometimes, just how
Mhm.
life is. Sometimes cooking your favorite meals really easy, but other times when you're tired, it takes a lot more effort. And so there's always going to
Mhm.
be those tricky moments. When I well, when I was younger, I really strived to kind of have this idea of a perfect mask. I realized looking back that I was constantly just trying to find my way to make myself like smaller and fit in. I just had this idea that no one could know how I was or how I felt. And I've spent a lot of time trying to unpick that.
Mhm.
Um, I think learning that not everyone is going to like you, and that is actually okay. Because also you don't necessarily want everyone to like you. Like me hiding who I am doesn't give credit to the people I really love in my life because the people I really love in my life like me for me.
Mhm.
Like love the bits of me that I'm showing them. The people who will spend their time around me are people who really think and feel like me. And they'll notice that whether I'm masking or not, because I'll still love the same things. I'll still have the same passions, even if my face looks more neurotypical, quote unquote. They're still around me because of they like my conversation, or they think I'm funny, or they think I'm a good friend, or they really like how bubbly I am. All those things are me. So this idea of this perfect mask where no one knows who I am, it's like it doesn't cover up everything. A perfect
Mhm.
mask really doesn't. Because if you think of a mask, you've still got all of the rest of your limbs and your body. People still see you. So leaning into you, I think you'll oftentimes find that the people you really get on with and engage with and who you just have that natural rapport feels like a fancy French word, but that's not what I'm looking for. A
Vibe.
vibe. Thank you. Vibe. Let's
Mhm.
be modern. Um, like they're gonna like you even more because you're leaning into the bits of you they already like.
Mhm.
So I think first of all that perfect mouse thing was just wrong of me and inaccurate and not giving enough credit to the kind people that I tend to have around. And I generally think most people are kind, and I would bet a lot of friends that people or whoever this keeps around are kind and trying to do their best in every given moment, even if they're not intending to be mean. Life isn't like you see in films. We don't have cliques. We don't have, especially, so as you get older, there isn't the cheerleaders, the jocks, the
Mhm.
nerds. Those are the kind of labels we're using, especially when we're younger, to try and figure out this really complex world, which is so difficult. I can't fully explain the world, but so people are diverse and people understand that people are diverse and different.
Mhm.
Love them for it, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
It's how you naturally attract the people around you. And I feel like the people who make me feel good about myself and who like make me laugh, those are the people that I want to be around. But how would they find me? How would I find them
yeah,
without being ourselves? Which
yeah,
again, very much struggle with. And I'm always in awe of people who can live out loud and actually be like, these are the things I
yeah,
like. Yeah, it's such a powerful thing.
totally. And I guess it's learning to be different, honest versions of yourself. I will go into work and I have to be a professional version of myself. And that version of me exists. It takes a lot more energy, but it
Mm,
exists. Knowing when that's appropriate and then knowing that I can step away from that and be the more bubbly, whatever version of myself. And all of them are me, just different versions. But I think even in times when I'm having to think more about my face and it wouldn't be how I naturally sit, it's having the spaces where I can naturally sit like that and knowing that even when I'm thinking about my face or something more, or I'm wanting to be more animated for what I'm doing in the same way an actor would do on stage.
mhm.
Um, I'm still being me and I'm still going, and so it's hard, as you say, it's hard. You're trying to identify with yourself and you're trying to share that with the world. And I think it's no easy journey, but I think the sooner you realize that the most of the world are quite nice even if they don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's becoming more commonplace now, which is so much nicer. I have noticed the time. So if anybody has any questions for Mary, please put them in either the Zoom chat or the Q&A bit. And I'm happy to continue for a bit longer if you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
you have my
Lovely.
time, so feel
Yay.
free. But anyone, if there's anyone out there
If
right now,
anyone
feel
has to
free
go,
to run away if you have other
yes.
things to do. It seems to be recorded, so you can always come
Yes.
back to me. I'll be in the void
Yeah,
as
hello,
long as you
future
want me.
people. uh, um, yeah, so still unmasking. Um, how have you gone about kind of like let's go for like a beginner's guide to unmasking. Or beginner's guide asterisk, we're still learning how to do this. But
Sure.
like what have been some of the steps that you've been taking?
I guess I'm really early on in this journey. We're
Mm,
talking this year. I've gone. I can't I can't just keep masking in all situations. Thing I need to be able to lean into my kind of natural self, should we say, but automatic. One thing is if I'm overthinking about something, so I'll think a lot about, as I say, my eyes, my face, my mouth, my body language. Learning to, in certain spaces, put those down. So learning in certain spaces to not to go, wait, I don't need those thoughts right now. I find
mm,
it's relatively easy for me to clear those and go, well, if I don't need those right now, I can just kind of relax the muscles in my face, for example, and just lean into what feels natural, when I'm responding to something, even if it's just on my own or with one other person or someone I really care and trust, just bit by bit trying to just fall into what feels natural rather than what I'm telling myself to constantly be doing
mhm,
is I think a big part of that. I think being honest about my interests. I think for a long time, especially at school, I would hide my interests, which is just so unnecessary because,
mm,
you respect people and they respect you. So I would just say my interests nowadays, it's doing small things like that kind of reveal both physically is my kind of big one, but emotionally and personally, and just being honest. And if someone responds negatively to you, it's generally not about you. Like
yeah.
people who have the time to feel bad about what you do have too much time. They generally aren't feeling very happy in themselves. If you're really happy, do you feel like judging anyone? If you're really in a good mood, do you feel like going, "Oh, that seems awful"? Generally just enjoying what you do, and everyone should be happy that other people are happy doing things that make them happy. Um, yeah, it's generally a them problem. So just being honest in myself, and no matter what that's met with, 99% of the time it's met with, "Oh, cool," and then moving
Mm.
on. Um, and just knowing that it's not about me and it doesn't mean anything about me, and it means something about them. That's probably been an important thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like so often now looking back, sometimes I'm like, I wish I'd been more honest with what I liked because I've lost some time now where I could have just been doing more of that, which, not something that I focus on now because what can you do? But it's so,
Mm,
you're only kind of missing out for yourself, which just isn't
yeah.
fun. I'd rather have more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I've started doing is I've started either magpieing, kind of like getting little things that I like. For example, I recently got a music box with Howl's Moving
Oh,
Castle.
I love
It's
that.
good, it's good. Just little things to remind me of what I like, because I think that's one thing that I kept on doing where I find myself very easily chameleoning
Mm,
to people. Just because I want to make them happy and they are my friends because they are happy, but they are also my friends because they like me. It's a whole thing that I'm definitely learning to rework and yeah, that's definitely kind of reminding myself of what makes me me. I
yeah.
found very useful.
And I mean, you can always try it with a new person. If you've met someone new in a new environment, or
Mm,
like I found just when there was a big change, like when I changed schools, like it made it a fresh start to go in with a new intro. And I tried my best to lean into that then because I don't have to reset anything or go back on
mm.
anything.
Yeah, that's so true. Actually, on this, I see a question. So, on being honest about your interests and masking, do you have any advice for managing feelings of or being motivated by shame?
Oh, what a good question.
Mm,
That's a very, very well written question. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, no, I've spent a lot of my life motivated by shame. You're not alone in this, and I just want to be really clear
mm-mm.
on that. I think that everyone, I feel like maybe you might relate as well, but
Why
it's
would you call me out?
because we were talking about this sort of thing yesterday, and this idea of feeling like you have to hide and you can't do a thing because it's shameful and etc. etc. It can be it's really, really hard.
Mm,
I think managing those feelings, I think seeing those feelings and going, I know I feel this shame. I think if you can think of where the shame comes from, that can help. So, is this shame really how I feel? Or is it, oh, I saw this on the internet, or a friend said this, or I saw someone say something to someone else? Like, where does that come from? And I think asking why does that shame feel important to me?
mhm,
Does it feel important to me because I'm afraid of being disliked? Like where that shame comes from? So just going, where does it come from? Why is it important? Um, and then if it's often things like, well, I'm afraid of, you know, a friend disliking me, well, they're already your friend and they don't dislike you. And if your friend had an interest that
mm,
you'd want them to do the things that excite them and make them happy. So I would say being able to see those feelings, feel them, but also learning to kind of move on despite their presence. I think feelings can really motivate what we do in life. And I think being able to see feelings that aren't us or negatively affect us and just separating them from what you're going to do, eventually you'll find the shame kind of rolls off because it's not showing any power over you.
mm. Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with that. One thing I have been asking myself a lot is why am I feeling this way? Like
Mm.
what is going on there that's made me feel this way? Like if I'm sad, even happy sometimes, because it is all about kind of tracing it back to kind of what caused it. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm feeling this way because I've left my work till last minute again, or oh, I'm feeling this way because I think somebody might perceive me in this way, but that's me assuming something. Yeah.
totally. And I think there's some reality to, I saw this a while back. You can't solve problems of the mind with the mind.
Whoa.
So you can't think your way out of a thinking problem. If shame is bothering you, you can tell yourself, no, this doesn't bother me as much as you want, but it's still going to be there. But I think figuring out why it's there at first to just kind of make it less powerful as this unknown feeling. So recognizing what it is and
Mm,
then changing your behavior. So doing things despite the shame. Doing it anyway is the thing that I think will slowly release it because you can't think yourself out of shame. If you just lay there thinking about it for weeks, it's not going to disappear. But if you do something anyway and realize it's not that shameful, or speak to someone you really do trust about something that you're feeling shamed about, that you know is a safe place, and going, oh, this isn't shameful. There's many ways through it. Anyway, I
yeah.
realized I talked quite long for that one.
No, it makes sense. I feel like sometimes even saying what you're feeling out loud sometimes helps
Yeah,
because you can pretend somebody else is saying it, maybe like a friend might be saying it, but sometimes even just it makes you think about it in a different way. Like I'm feeling shameful for, I can't think of an example, but I didn't make my bed today. I did actually, but um
I didn't.
there we go. Yin and yang. But it really helps to kind of put it into perspective and whether it's something that's worth taking up your kind of like emotional capacity at the time.
Oh, t totally. Couldn't agree with that more.
Mm.
And changing it up and talking to yourself kindly and talking to yourself as if you're a friend or something, I would fully agree with that too.
Mm.
And as I say, like there's something, I don't know, I feel like quite stilling about things like shame and guilt and feeling bad about yourself. It's very like freezing. I know I freeze personally. Maybe feel like running away, not sure.
Mm.
But personally, I really freeze up. And so I find like physically make my body move in a way that's opposite to the feeling. Like I started doing this thing with my boyfriend where when I like felt really like frozen, can't do something, is we like shake it off, do a classic Taylor Swift song from
Hmm.
too many years ago and just literally physically move yourself out of it because it'll get your mind going.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that a lot as to hold on, brain. I've heard that people say to do that a lot when you're like paralyzed, like scrolling and stuff as well, which
Mhm.
has actually helped me quite a bit because then I'm like, oh, I'm conscious again. Let's do something else.
Yeah. Oh
Back to the
gosh.
world. Yeah, cool. So
Yeah.
we have like 8 minutes left.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
there's one bit that we spoke about yesterday, which I think is also kind of feeding into the question that we just answered, and that's about kind of overthinking. So yeah, you had like a very good psychology thing and a quote, which I would
Yeah.
kind of hint to it, but I just want you to
I know
say
what you're
them.
talking about. Yeah, so I'm a great overthinker. I was telling maybe yesterday that I had a bit of time I need to take out from work. I took out probably a week from because I was really like burnt out from work. And I spent so much of it worried about what people would think when I'd come back. And I came back and everyone was lovely, no one cared. And in fact, I had more compliments from some of my senior people, my managers, than I'd expected. And so my dad, who knows I'm a bit of a chronic overthinker, gave me
Mm.
this quote a little while back, which is by Mark Twain, going, I'm an old man of many problems. I'm an old man who has lived the life of many troubles, most of them imaginary. And it's just this idea that we invent problems that aren't really there. We have a brain that really hyper fixates on the negative. Humans are not very different than they were when they were in caves. And the issue with that is there was a lot more lions likely to eat us and well, various animals that we needed to look out for. And one of the things that gave us was a uh survival capability of hyperfixating on the negative. I can see the line. The line is over there, and I will not get distracted from the lion. But focusing on the lion really stresses you out. And
Mm.
now, if you think the things that we run into are not lions, they're thoughts, they're other feelings. Because when we're not in an environment with lions, we start to make our own fears up so that we know where the danger is. So I think that kind of caveman hyperfixating on the negative brain can get really, really just over worried. And anything, I honestly find that even the thing that's may come true or does come true later, um, I borrowed those problems by taking them 2 weeks early. So anything that even could happen in a month's time, if I'm worrying about it now, I'm living it 300 times. And that is
Hmm.
just so unnecessary because 90% of the time it'll never happen. And I've spent the evening worried about this one conversation I had yesterday that no one cared about the next day. So the things I would say is I really focus on kind of looking for optimism. You can't stop your brain from being negative and trying to protect you. You can consciously look for things that are positive. It's shown to actually physically change your brain. And the more you look for positive intentionally, even when you're sitting right there where you are right now, is there something in your surroundings you really love? Do you have a really comfy chair? Is the shirt you're wearing really, really comfy? Is
Mm.
a drink you're drinking really refreshing? Even if it's water, is that does that feel good? Do you have plushy in the area? Is there something you're looking forward to tomorrow? I think actively looking away from the lion and looking towards something else. I used this analogy yesterday of if you're in a field and you're staring at one patch of weeds, you might miss all of the sunflowers that are surrounding you. You'll miss the birds tweeting in the sky and the beautiful trees. So I would really say, you know, notice what makes you happy, because if you build up every little thing that makes you happy, say you have a little glass and you're building all these marbles of all the things that make you happy, you might just realize that you're a glass half full person because when you add it all up, it really does affect your life, because just noticing those happy things is making my brain and me happy. So I would really, really recommend look for good, look for what could happen positively. Because if I just thought a week ago, maybe everyone's understanding and they still appreciate who I am, I would have saved myself a week of stress. So I would say
Mm.
really do what you can to look at the positive against your brain just trying to protect you.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I love the idea of I mean, I don't love the idea, but the invisible line is such like a tangible thing. And one
Mm,
thing I really just try and remind myself to do sometimes is breathe, which crazy thought. But
yeah.
sometimes when I'm really feeling the weight inside me and I'm like, oh my God, I have so many things to do, just like a deep breath snaps me out of it. Maybe I'm still stressed, but at least now I'm breathing. Whereas beforehand, I was definitely holding my breath for way too long, um, which it's not useful for anyone.
That's actually a kind of meditation. My dad
Well,
teaches mindfulness meditation. So he has for the last probably 10, 15 years, he does an hour's meditation every single day.
mm,
So he's really, really into that. And I remember getting really angry when in psychology class they told us about the way that kind of those meditative acts really improve your brain and its ability to deal with stress. And made me really upset because I always thought it was silly laying down for an hour. But I also then realized as the kind of years have gone on, my parents both are into meditation, do the class stuff, that actually meditation isn't just sitting there and going like you see in TV, or laying
yeah.
on the floor and not doing anything and then getting really overwhelmed because you're someone who likes to do things. It's bringing your attention away from the bad. It's focusing on breathing in and out. It's just putting your brain elsewhere and keeping bringing yourself back to that rather than the thing that's stressing out. So yeah, I would say that's quite a meditative act.
Sometimes meditation is just painting or coloring, I feel like.
It's
Or I
also
really
very
like
true.
singing. It's something that's
Yeah.
like putting you in a different position. You're focusing your attention on that instead of anything else, which is so useful to do because, yeah, you're not overthinking as much. Top tips, guys. But
Top
yeah,
tip.
so we finished basically bang on. Very proud of us. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you so much, Mary, for just being here and telling us so many very interesting, very helpful things. I feel like I've definitely, learned more, and I really love being nosy and learning more psychology things. And we are going to have another role model talk, I think, in maybe 2 weeks. I have just about confirmed it. So everybody keep an eye out for that. More details will be in the community soon. And yes, enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. I just realized I didn't show the puppy. Hold on.
Oh
Hey.
yeah, I've got to see the dog.
Oh, he's so asleep. Oh no. Oh, I'm so
Oh,
sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh
poor little
no.
puppy.
Oh no. Okay. Okay. Hello. He's here.
Oh, he's
Hello.
precious.
Hello.
Oh, he's precious.
He's so sleepy.
Yeah, he's so cute.
He's
Oh,
been so
bless
annoying all
him.
day and now he's so sweet.
Oh,
Hello.
his
His name is
sleepiness is so
Otter.
relatable, but oh,
Yes. Yeah, what a good way. I'm gonna have that be my thing now. My hosting thing is closing it out with the dog.
love it. Oh yeah, please, please. I'll start attending these.
Yes. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. And he is about to jump out, so I'm gonna end it now. Bye.